for a conversation produced by our underwriter, Eli Lilly and Company, about redefining brain health, the future of Alzheimer's diagnosis and care. Please welcome Ann E. White, Executive Vice President and President of Lilly Neuroscience at Eli Lilly and Company, with the Atlantic's Chief Growth Officer, Megha Garibaldi.
Thank you for being with us today, everyone, and Anne. So let's kick this off, and let's actually start with your personal experience. You've been open about your experience with your own mother and the challenges that you faced as she experienced memory and thinking issues. Can you share how that personal experience has shaped your work and your commitment in Alzheimer's disease and care?
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me here today, and it's great to be with all of you. Yes, I lost my mom to Alzheimer's disease. It's over 15 years ago now, but she and I were very close. As I was growing up, I would always considered her my best friend, and in fact, she moved in with us, and my twins were born. They were born prematurely, and they needed a lot of care, so she moved in with us and helped care for them. That's the kind of mom that she was. And actually, just a few years later, she didn't recognize them. She would ask me who those children were, these kids that she had helped taken care of. So it was an incredible, painful journey for us. But what gives me hope is that the journey that she had and the journey that she would have today are two very different ones. When she was diagnosed, there was no hope for treatment for her disease. In fact, even her diagnosis was not made until after she passed away. So that's the kind of journey that she was on. And there certainly was a lot of stigma about Alzheimer's disease, and we didn't talk about her diagnosis very broadly. But today, such a different space. There's hope with treatments for early symptomatic disease. There are blood tests that actually can be used to diagnose the pathology of the disease, and conversations like this that I think help destigmatize the disease in important ways. So it's great to be here to talk about it with you.
Thank you for sharing that. And it's great to hear the sense of hope, right? So can you talk to us a little bit more about, there's been the approval of amyloid targeting therapies and the blood biomarker test that you just mentioned. How are these exactly reshaping how we are approaching care now?
Yeah. Well, probably important to talk about amyloid for a minute, because you may have heard of the term amyloid, and amyloid is a protein that naturally produces in your body. So all of us have a certain level of amyloid. But what happens with Alzheimer's disease is that essentially it starts to clump together to form plaques. And when you get these excessive plaques in your brain, that's what can cause the memory and thinking issues. So now what we have for a certain stage of the disease are amyloid-targeted therapies. So they target the amyloid and clear it out. And what they're able to do then is to potentially slow the progression of the disease. So this, in the last few years, that's the first time that we've ever had a treatment that has the potential to really modify the disease. There were medicines that maybe could treat the symptoms, but not the disease itself. So that's exciting. And then also exciting is the progress on the diagnosis. So as I said, many years ago, maybe over 15 years ago, the diagnosis was through autopsy. Then we had the efforts around PET scans, so you could get PET scans to get diagnosed with amyloid pathology, or lumbar punctures. But think about the two of those. They're fairly invasive. They can be expensive. So what I'm excited about now is the advent of blood biomarkers, and not just because it's a simple blood test that could potentially diagnose the pathology, but also it's a very scalable test that many people around the world, around the country, that may not have access to some of the other methods could get treated. And it's so important with this disease to get treated as early as possible when you see that those symptoms are upon you.
Right, and so let's talk about research then, right? So Alzheimer's research is now pushing into earlier and even incredibly asymptomatic stages of the disease. Mm-hmm. So what are we learning from these studies, and how might this shift the future of prevention and early detection?
Yeah, this is what gets me really excited. Obviously, I love the progress we've made, but the goal is always to make more of a difference, move earlier, and that's with any disease that you can think of. The earlier that you might treat, the better people may do. And we hope that the same is in Alzheimer's disease. So we've got studies across the field going on right now, not just at Lilly, but across the space, around treating people that don't have any symptoms yet, but have that pathology of Alzheimer's disease in their brain. Because the fact is that amyloid plaques can start forming 10 to 20 years before you start to see symptoms. And so our hope across the field is that if we can clear these amyloid plaques at that earliest stage, maybe we can even delay the onset of symptoms for many patients. Maybe even some people don't progress to symptoms within their lifetime. That would be incredible. But then there's also research ongoing. Can you even reduce the risk of Alzheimer's in your lifetime? And so there was a great study by the Alzheimer's Association at a recent conference that showed, it was called the Pointer Study, if you're interested in learning more, but about aspects of exercise and diet, brain exercises, and social interaction. All of those can help. This was shown that a combination of these in a set of older adults could actually reduce the risk of cognitive decline in later in life. And I think we've been reading about this for some time right now, that sleep, diet, exercise, it makes sense in everything that we treat, but it certainly makes sense also in Alzheimer's disease, that if we can reduce that risk, that's something that's very meaningful, and we can take action on those things today.
So as Alzheimer's treatments and diagnostics gain FDA approval, which is incredible,
Yep.
Patients and providers still, though, face some challenges. Low awareness, delayed detection. So what are the most pressing challenges that we need to urgently address to ensure that these innovations are actually reaching the people who need them?
Yeah. Well, I think conversations like this are important, and I appreciate all of you coming today, because the number one thing is awareness. Awareness that we need to start talking about our brain health, that we need to start speaking up if we see that either ourselves or people that we love have issues. But it is challenging. I mean, there are medicines out there now to treat a certain stage of the disease, but many doctors even are not aware, let alone patients. So I think that awareness is part of it. But then also, we did some interesting analyses lately. We looked back at kind of the diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease, and you can get information out of health records and things like that. And it tells us that, essentially claims data, that tells us that only about 15% of people that are eventually diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease ever got to see a specialist in the treatment of Alzheimer's disease. So, meaning many of them stayed with primary care or someone else. And that may not be the best care that they can receive when they've got that diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease. And then only if you did get to a specialist, this one really surprised me, only about 5% of those patients actually got one of these tests that I told you about for diagnosing the pathology of Alzheimer's, whether it's a PET scan or a blood test. Only 5%. So that tells you that there's a lot of work to do to drive awareness in this disease. And so having conversations like this, all of you leaving the room and making people more aware is incredibly important in the treatment of this disease.
So speaking about awareness, last week Lilly announced a partnership with Julianne Moore and a new public health campaign to raise awareness. Can you tell us a bit more about the campaign and its importance?
Yes, we're really excited to encourage conversation about brain health. Our hope is that people will prioritize brain health the same way that you do your heart health and many other things that we do prioritize today, or at least maybe that we intend to prioritize most of the time, but move that up on the list. And so we are particularly excited to partner with Julianne, because you may remember about 10 years ago, she won an Academy Award for her work in Still Alice, where she portrayed someone with early onset Alzheimer's disease. And she did an incredible job. And one thing that she shared with us, and when we approached her, was the research that she'd done for that role. She'd really gone out and spoken to healthcare providers, Alzheimer's patients, Alzheimer's Association, all of those groups, to make sure that she really understood how to portray this, and did such a fabulous job that she won an Oscar for that. So I think having her talk about this with that research that she'd done, and I think she became a passionate advocate at that point for brain health. And so we're encouraging people to talk about taking charge of your brain health and looking for ways to reduce the risk, and particularly being an advocate with your doctor. So asking for a cognitive assessment, coming up with a plan with your doctor about your brain health and your cognitive health, making a plan so that you can do the things that might lower your risk. So glad she's partnered up with us, and she's actually going to be in the next session. So if you're here now, I encourage you to stay, because even more eloquently than me, I think she can speak about the passion she has for taking charge of our health, our brain health, and doing it in a way that really can have some great results. So,
well, thank you so much for having this important conversation with us.
Yes.
And thank you to everyone here.
Thank you.